Welcome to the Point. Next, mayoral candidates for the City of Providence took the stage this week. Democratic Mayor Brett Smiley faced off against Democrat David Morales, Republican Dave Talan, and Independent Alan Waters. Now, let's get to the point.
And without further ado, I would love to introduce our amazing moderator, who is Lanre Ajakaiye. He is a longtime resident of the Southside. He lives in Ward 9. He is also a graduate of Classical High School, a community leader, an activist, and he is also in the Martin Luther King Hall of Fame down at City Hall. And he is a wonderful developer with a really keen eye for community and really loves his community. So we are so excited to have Mr. Lanre Ajakaiye come here and moderate this wonderful forum. Yes, let's give him a round of applause.
A very good evening, everyone. How are you today? So this is a forum. We can be informal. We can have a little good time with it, all right? So I've been told, and I'm getting feedback by the minute, the Democratic endorsement is now as we speak, and they have just gone live. Yamini, is that correct? So they've just gone live. So David Morales and Mayor Brett Smiley are there now. So as soon as it is done, they will be rushing here. So I will take that time and go over the preliminaries, of which, thank goodness, we've shared a lot of those preliminaries with the candidates before. So they've had a chance to read it about the forum rules. So it's not something that the other candidates haven't had a chance to read or know. So I will take that time, and hopefully when they come right in, we can get right to the questions that are of criticality to the City of Providence and our future, our collective futures. How's that sound, guys? Cool, all right. So by way of context and introduction, and thank you for that, so you understand who the guy is in front of you with the blue suit. I'm a first-generation native of Providence, Rhode Island, born and raised. I went to Classical High School, as Yamini said. If I look and I take a couple steps this way, my father's first home that he bought is right there, Lexington Avenue. So I grew up on Lexington Avenue. I am a person who has been in community. Some people know me as coach. Some people know me for real estate. Some people know me for tech. I live in the community now. I've raised my children in this community. I love Providence and the City of Providence. Gone to public schools. I've also been away for many years. So I did real estate in Manhattan, where I saw firsthand how different things work that we will talk about today. So my collective experience comes from all of that. It is appropriate for where we're at and in any public and community forum to give a land acknowledgement. So I have reached out to the indigenous peoples as well as used the city council approved script for a land acknowledgement. So if you will bear with me, I will read the land acknowledgement. Since we are rooting this process in equity and going to do the land acknowledgement as adopted by the city council and again checked by the indigenous peoples, before we begin, I would like to acknowledge that we gather today on the ancestral homelands of the Narragansett and Pokanoket peoples, the first stewards of these lands we now call Providence. We also recognize the enduring presence and contributions of the Nipmuc, Niantic, and Mansian peoples throughout Rhode Island. We honor their history, resilience, and continued leadership, and we express our gratitude for the opportunity to live, work, and gather on these lands. May this acknowledgement inspire all of us to build a more inclusive, equitable, and respectful future for all. So as we discuss Providence tonight, we do so with the respect of those who came before us and a commitment to ensuring opportunity, dignity, and belonging for all who call this city home. So I'm first going to give a shout out to the people that are here today. I'll have them do a quick introduction a little bit later on. You guys can sit for now, and then you can you'll stand back up later if you'd like. So the first thing I'm going to do is recognize, and Yamini did it briefly, but I want to go into it a little bit more. So tonight we're here to discuss the issues and concerns of the people that come by way of, and for the first time, a powerful community collaborative of 8 organizations. I think that is, yeah, the woo's okay. Woo's okay. So why is that important? You know, oftentimes in the times that we're in, there's a divisiveness, and people don't often come together, whether they have the same viewpoints or different viewpoints, to respectfully discuss those viewpoints or collaboratively move things forth. It was so critical that the organizations I'm about to read did that, and that's why we're all here today. So Elmwood Neighborhood Association, give them a round of applause. So Elmwood and South Providence Neighborhood Association, give them a round of applause. The JCP Collective. The People's Port Authority. Reservoir Triangle Neighborhood Association. South Elmwood Neighborhood Association. South Providence Neighborhood Association. And last but not least, the Washington Park Neighborhood Association. So I'm gonna just throw this in there because I'm me. So part of my wardrobe is bought from Copa Menswear up the street. So small business, support small business. Don't just take photos in the small business, but actually spend your dollars in the small business. So they're on their way, great. So I just got a plug that they're on their way, so that's great because I have a couple more things to read, so it's awesome. So we're tracking well, guys. So how is this process done? It's very, very important for you guys to know. So I, the moderator, did not come up with all the questions. I threw a sprinkling of some in there, but the 8 organizations came up with the questions. The people came up with the questions as the way it should be. So those questions will be given in a hat. So Yamini will give me a question each. I do not know what she's going to give me, although I've seen the questions. I don't know which one it will be. But what you should know is those questions are all questions of criticality to the organizations that I just listed and named. So that's first. Secondly, the questions were across categories. So the categories: housing and inclusion, budgets, community participation and investment, schools, education, wealth creation and the future of growth, quality of life, and environmental. So all of those categories, or any of those categories, can come up tonight. So moderator rules, like everything else, we have to have rules, right? There has to be rules. And the rules are to ensure that the candidates are heard for the community to get their questions answered. These rules were sent to all candidates in advance, so they're not a surprise to any of the candidates. First rule, all candidates will receive equal speaking time. So all candidates will speak a minute and a half. There will be a hand raised from somebody in the crowd. I think it's Yai and somebody else. And Ron is he's a, shout out to Ron Crossan, is the timekeeper, which is a very important role. Candidates, respectful discourse is required at all times. The point of this is a forum, not a debate, is to answer the issue, not to attack each other on anything else but the issues. Differences in opinion are expected. But what we need is not personal attacks, name calling, or any interruptions. And this is broadly for all candidates. What we want to know is the issues and the criticality of the issues and what you will do for the future of the City of Providence. From the crowd, and what a lovely crowd it is, so give yourselves a round of applause. The full house, we have some chairs here. If you have questions that should go to the organizations, obviously because of time, we may not be able to get to all of them. There are index cards in the back, so write your questions because written questions will be sent to the candidates after and furnished out so that you can get your questions still answered. So understand that. There will be no heckling of candidates. So as we're asking for the candidates to have respectful discourse and answer the issues that people want to know, we're also asking the crowd not to heckle, right? Listen, no tomatoes, no anything, just listen and we'll ask the questions there. Stick to the issues and refrain from personal attacks. I've mentioned that. And remember, a forum is designed to inform the audience. A debate is designed to compare candidates against one another. So on cue, Mayor Brett Smiley. Hi, Mayor, how are you? So all we've done is read the rules that we've furnished your team beforehand.
It's 2 minutes behind me.
2 minutes behind you, okay. So, while we wait, I think this is fine, so I'll have David do his when he comes in. So I will have the candidates and the mayor introduce themselves. I will start at the far corner with Dave Talan. And introduce yourself, what party you're with. Minute and a half, please.
Good evening. Can you hear me now? For the benefit of the 2 or 3 people in this room that do not already know me, my name is Dave Talan, and I'm the Republican candidate for mayor. I'm a lifelong community activist here on the south side of the city. Served 16 terms as president of the Reservoir Triangle Neighborhood Association, where we fixed up 4 parks on Mashpach Pond, worked together with the police, fire, schools in the neighborhood, and just helped people to know their neighbors in the neighborhood a little bit better. Also been with the Elmwood Little League, past president, coached for 52 years, where I've coached thousands of our neighbors here on the south side, including World Series MVP Jeremy Pena. I have government experience. I've served as administrative assistant to 2 state representatives, 1 Democrat and 1 Republican. I served 12 years on the Board of Park Commissioners that oversees 120 city parks plus Roger Williams Park. And I have a lot of ideas I'm going to share with you here tonight on how we can improve the schools, reduce city spending, improve city services, and just in general let you know how everything is going to be fine and dandy in the City of Providence under the administration of Mayor Dave Talan. Thank you.
Candidate Waters.
My name is Alan Waters from the west end of Providence. I'm a native. My parents were born here. My grandmother was born here. I'm at least a 4th generation resident of this city. My career, I was an investment consultant. I'm a father of 5 children, 19, 20, 22, 44, and 48. Although I have been married twice, I recently, on March 27th, married my sweetheart, a Venezolan, who I love dearly and who I want to become a part of the fabric of this city, like so many other Latinos and Latinas and Hispanic people. I graduated from classical high school. I opened the building in 1968. I'm the first class of 4, class of 1972. That puts me at 70 years old. But I gave blood recently. My sitting heart rate, my resting heart rate is 53 because God has blessed me with great health and energy. I'm here to fight for the people of Providence in a minority, majority city. We need leadership. We don't have it.
So because candidate Morales isn't here, I will go to Mayor Smiley.
Thank you, and thank you all for coming, and hopefully it was explained. I'm sure David feels the same way. The Providence Democratic City Committee had their endorsement meeting also at the same time, and so this was incredibly important for us to get here, and we appreciate everyone's little bit of patience to allow us to start. But I am Brett Smiley. I'm the mayor of Providence and running for re-election, and I am so excited to have a chance to speak with you all tonight to try to earn your vote in an election that's coming up in just 77 days. I think this election is about 2 things. It's about results, and it's about readiness. And I'm really proud of the results that we've had over the last 4 years as I've been your mayor. We have spent the last year and a half doing everything we can to stand up to the Trump administration and to all the horrors coming from Washington. Most importantly, we've done everything we can to protect our immigrant neighbors, ensuring that Providence police do not cooperate on civil immigration enforcement. We've made our city buildings and our schools safe spaces. We've made resources available to the community to do everything we can to continue to say loud and clear that Providence is a safe and welcoming city for all. But we've also stood up to Trump in other ways. We've sued the Trump administration 9 times in the last year and a half, and we will continue to do so, because that's what it means to protect our community. Protecting our community also means, however, keeping this a safe city, and I am extraordinarily proud that violent crime is down to a 35-year low under our leadership. We have made universal pre-K available in Providence, the only community in Rhode Island with universal pre-K, and we are building new homes and new schools in every corner of this city. The work ahead is going to require readiness. Most importantly, we are taking back the Providence public schools, and I have prepared for this moment so that we can do better by
Time, Mayor.
in our school system.
So I read this before people came, just so everybody knows. So the mics will actually be cut off, and Ron is the timekeeper for everybody, so everybody has a minute and a half, so it's fair, equitable to all. I do not see candidate Morales here, so I'm going to read the context, and for the sake of everyone that's here and for when we have to leave, I will start the first context and then go into the first question. So Providence does not simply have a housing shortage. Providence has a shortage of housing that working families, first-time homebuyers, seniors on fixed incomes, and young professionals can actually afford. The greatest need is workforce housing, family-sized housing, starter home ownership opportunities, and deeply affordable units for residents earning below 50% of area median income. The data comes from the city's own housing data, Housing Works RI findings, and the Providence Housing Crisis Task Force recommendations, in case anybody wonders. So in light of the recent veto of the rent stabilization ordinance, what specific policies would you implement to simultaneously improve educational outcomes and increasing housing stability for Providence families? It's not an either or, it's an and. A lot of times we do either or. How would you measure success? The mayor mentioned results in his opening speech. How would you measure success? What are the results and the KPIs we can expect? That is the first question. First question goes to Dave Talan.
Okay, I agree with Mayor Smiley in vetoing the ordinance on rent control, because the real answer to the housing problem is to increase the amount of housing to the point where the supply is greater than the demand, and that in itself is going to drive down things. In order to do that, we obviously need to build a lot more housing. We have a lot of empty lots in the city. Right here on the south side, we have the example in Westfield, States up between Elmwood Avenue and Buckland Street, where they took abandoned factory property and built hundreds of housing units. We have a lot of spaces like that in Providence we can build on. And, you know, in addition to that, you know, one of the other ideas on building housing, I think we need to build it less expensively. And I hate to give credit to one of the Democratic candidates for governor, but Helena Folks has talked about prefabrication housing, bringing it here at half the cost of regular housing, and I would endorse that.
Thank you. Mayor Smiley?
The housing crisis is the most pressing concern in the city, and it is rooted in the fact that we don't have enough housing. And so our housing strategy is broken up in 3 categories, and it is the right strategy to actually meet this moment and bring down costs for Providence families. First is production. We need to build more housing, and we have been building more housing. Since I've been mayor, we've created 2,000 new housing units, 22% of which are permanently affordable. And I know, having spent a lot of time in community meetings, this comes up a lot. Affordable to whom? That means you pay as a percentage of your income, not based upon what the landlord wants to charge. That's twice the state target. Providence is building more than any other community in Rhode Island, and on a per capita basis, more than New York and Boston. Then preservation. We need to make sure that our existing affordable housing maintains its affordability. Right around the corner, Lockwood Plaza was about to lose its 30-year affordable housing restricted covenant. We subsidized them to renovate those homes. The people who live there get to live in a brand new renovated home, and with it came a new 30-year restricted covenant so that affordable housing and projects like that around the city maintain their affordability. And then finally, protection, because in this moment, we do need to do everything we can to protect tenants, which is why I propose, the City Council just passed, and starting in just a week or two, now that we're in a new fiscal year, we will have an emergency rental assistance fund here in Providence, the only community in Rhode Island to provide actual cash assistance to tenants at risk of eviction. We also provide no-cost eviction defense support, so if you're a tenant at risk of eviction, we will provide a lawyer for you. And we provide a lot of landlord-tenant education, because we find time and time again that landlords do not know what their obligations are, and that tenants don't know what their rights are. And we want our tenants to know exactly what they're entitled to so that they're not taken advantage of. That is a comprehensive approach to the housing crisis, and that's what we've done.
So I'm going to go back just a step. I'm going to go back just a step and have candidate Morales introduce himself as well, because that was done. You have a minute and a half to do so. Beyond introducing yourself, the question that was just asked, I will let you answer that as well. Essentially, how would you balance affordability, tenant protections, and housing production? I'll keep it short, yeah.
Thanks so much,
it's
Lanre.
either, not and. It's and, not either. Yeah.
Well, good evening, everyone. First and foremost, thank you all so much for your flexibility and for your patience. My name is David Morales, and for the last 6 years, I've proudly served as a state representative, and I'm running for mayor because I love our city. Because here in Providence, we are a tight-knit community where neighbors look out for one another, and we deserve that same type of care and compassion coming from City Hall. I'm the child of a single immigrant mom and a lifelong renter, and I understand the challenges that so many of our working families are facing, especially during a moment when so many of our neighbors are getting priced out because Providence is becoming too expensive. And for that reason, I am committed to working with our Providence City Council to pass and enforce our rent stabilization ordinance so most of our neighbors don't have to worry that their rent's going to go up by more than 4% a year. Because unlike our current mayor, I will not veto rent stabilization. I will work with our council to make sure we pass it and enforce the law, and we're going to continue to build new housing, and we're going to do so with intention. Because over the recent years, we have watched as thousands of new housing units have come online, but over 75% of them are either market rate or luxury rate housing, which tells me that they are not homes that are being built for us. And so we need to ensure that we're looking at the 600 plus vacant residential lots owned by companies so we can build affordable homes here in South Providence and across the city.
Thank you. So I'm going to take community questions that are going to be handed to me. I don't know what the community question is, so we're keeping it totally equitable. Oh, Alan, sorry about that. Go ahead, Alan.
We're living a lie in Providence. We only have about 50,000 apartment rental units, and the city is overpopulated by 20 to 30,000 people. We don't have enough land in this old city to react fast enough to help everyone. So sadly, because of ideology and politics in this city, we, the people who live here, are going to suffer longer than we need to. But my policy, which I've been following for many years, I believe in cooperative housing. With cooperative housing, as a member, you own a piece of the building that owns your unit. We can put thousands of people in homes in Providence and across Rhode Island by just having something, the state providing bridge loans, so when nonprofit corporations that are being formed, we can put these people in, our people in homes. This is the way forward. We're not using it here. I've written to the governor. I've written to every single member of the state legislature. and in public schools. I've worked for 3 years
Time.
as a substitute teacher.
Oh, sorry. Oh, was that 50? Sorry about that, Candidate Waters. Go ahead.
We can build multi-million-dollar schools, but unless we get the children that look like me to behave, it ain't gonna happen. That's why we need new leadership.
Candidate Waters, thank you for that, and sorry about that omission, but you know from reaching out to you, I made sure you were in this debate, so I wanted to make sure everybody was heard. The next question will go to you first. For candidates proposing additional taxes on corporate polluters in the Port of Providence, how do you plan to legally enforce these measures while ensuring businesses remain in the city? That question is to Candidate Waters first.
Repeat that question, please.
So for candidates proposing additional taxes on corporate polluters in the Port of Providence, how do you plan legally to enforce these measures while ensuring businesses remain in the city?
We only have a handful of corporate polluters because it's basically in one section of the city. But I believe that in free enterprise, I believe in capitalism, I believe in low taxes on businesses because that is the financial engine of the city. That's who hires the people who most need this work. So therefore, putting taxes and penalties on polluters is fine. That's like getting a ticket for going too fast. But we need to promote the rest of these businesses in the city and not chase them away. They have to believe in Providence, not flee Providence.
Thank you. Candidate Morales.
For decades, our neighbors in South Providence have had to suffer from the excessive pollution that is coming down from the Port of Providence because of the large industrial facilities that operate there. And so my campaign has proudly proposed putting forward a new commercial tax that would be applied to industrial facilities that operate near the Port of Providence. We want to ensure that Shell Terminal Station, that Rhode Island Recycled Metals contribute more back to our city services and to our schools. This is about making sure that we maintain the same commercial tax rate for our traditional small businesses, but that we require more from these industrial facilities that benefit from being close to our waterfront. And the way we legally do it is we do it based on zoning. Based on a respective industrial zoning designation, we're going to ensure that we're able to apply this tax without any legal issues. And I have the political courage to take on this initiative because unlike the current mayor, I do not take money from the owner of Rhode Island Recycled Metals or their attorneys. My commitment is to the working people here in South Providence. My commitment is about making sure that when the People's Port Authority is reaching out with behavior and the concerns around ongoing pollution related to soil contamination and air contamination, that we take action. And that's why we'll also be focused on working with the Department of Environmental Management so we are having consistent air quality standards. And when those businesses are breaking the law, they will be held accountable because our health is not negotiable.
Thank you. Candidate Smiley.
My opponent's good at sound bites, but they don't actually work. And the reality is that it is illegal to tax individual businesses at a different rate. That's an inconvenient fact that he continues to ignore. You can't pick and choose how much you want to charge someone in taxes. That's not how taxes work. The reality is that we have a tax system that is based upon classifications. And for every bad actor at the waterfront, which we have, and I have taken action against, we have a small family-owned manufacturing business that is not polluting and is employing our neighbors. So you cannot pick and choose in some corrupt way who you want to charge more taxes to. What I've done... What I have done is hold bad actors accountable, most notably Rhode Island Recycled Metals, which has a host of DEM violations. My administration has been in and out of court for the last 2 years trying to shut them down. And for any frustration that you're feeling, we're feeling it too, because it is the Rhode Island court system that is holding us back. We continue to go back to court. We continue to use all of our lawyers to try to shut that organization down because they are a bad actor. That's how you take action against a bad neighbor in a legal way. And that's what I'll continue to do to protect the health and safety of this neighborhood, and while doing it in an equitable way that does not hurt local small businesses that are doing nothing more than employing our neighbors.
Thank you, Mayor. Candidate Talan.
Well, I have to agree with the.
Please, no heckling, no talking. Let them speak, because we all came here to hear them and their insights. One of these men will be leading Providence for the next 4 years. Thank you.
I have to agree with the mayor that the answer is not to tax money more from these polluters. I don't want more money. I want them shut down completely, and I want them gone, or at the very least clean up their act and do whatever it takes environmentally to make them clean up their act. But that's worth more to me than just getting a few $1,000s more from them. And I don't think we have a lot of polluters, but ones like the scrap metal yard, which is certainly one we all talk about, we'd be much better off without them entirely.
Thank you. So our next question, AI and the future of jobs. Artificial intelligence is expected to significantly reshape the workforce over the next 2 decades. Many experts predict substantial disruption to administrative, clerical, and entry-level jobs that have traditionally served as pathways into the middle class. Some are scared of it, some are using it like Google, but the question is not whether AI is coming. The question is whether Providence residents will benefit or be left behind. The question, looking towards 2031, what is your strategy for preparing Providence youth and residents of all ages for an AI-driven economy? What specific industries, skills, and educational pathways should Providence invest in today to ensure residents are creating wealth from AI rather than being displaced by it? Mayor Smiley, that question goes to you first.
Yeah, I don't believe AI is going to take your job. I think someone who knows how to use AI is. And so this is a question about upskilling our students and adults in the workforce. You have to be fluent in this new language in order to be successful in the years to come. And so most importantly, at the school level, we need to be integrating these technology tools into the classroom to both allow for authentic learning and not just copying information from ChatGPT, but to actually teach our students how to use these tools to do better, because that's what their future employers are going to require of them. There is a lot of work that needs to be done in the next 4 years, and one of the things I am most excited about if I earn a second term from you all and the rest of our neighbors in Providence is the work that we're going to do in the K-12 schools. As you know, the PPSD has been run by the state for 7 years. We finally got our schools back. I was proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with this city to get that done. And infusing and using technology in our education is critical. For adults in the workforce, through the city's workforce solutions and through our other various workforce training initiatives, technology skills and particularly AI skills needs to be integrated into all of that work and can be done both through our city workforce solutions and through community partners.
Thank you. Candidate Morales.
I believe it starts with investing directly into our youth and making sure that they're going to schools that are safely staffed. Right now, we have so many students that are falling behind when it comes to basic English language arts and basic math, because we are not able to ensure that our students are learning in classroom sizes that are smaller than 25. We have many multilingual learners and special education students that even without the rise of AI are already falling behind. And so my priority is to make sure that we're making the necessary investments so we're able to recruit retain, and hire more social workers, multilingual educators, and ensuring that our students are feeling supported inside and outside of the classroom, because that's how we're going to prepare them for post-secondary education. That's how we're going to create pathways so they can go on to CCRI, Rhode Island College, and pursue higher education in order to have a sustainable career, which in this case could be related to AI. I believe that it's important that we continue to focus on the core skills that our young people are going to need, and that's related to critical thinking. I think there are opportunities for higher ed to be a stronger partner around AI. But the one thing I will mention, while we're on the topic of artificial intelligence, is that as our mayor, we will not allow for data centers to come into our city. Because we have seen the destruction that they have caused across the country. They have hurt natural resources. They have polluted the water, and we will not allow for that to happen, especially if there's ever a proposal for it to come near the port.
Candidate Waters.
Only a fool would let his enemy teach his children. Without an education, you are not going anywhere in this world. The City of Providence, the Democratic Party, the communist teachers unions have failed our black and brown children in this city. And the white children too, because the score is only about 30% competency. We need someone to change that because we're living a lie. We're keeping the masses of children down in the city so that they become dependent on government. We need someone who believes in self-reliance. We need someone who believes in taking care of ourselves. Before we move to AI, if you can't read or write, what's AI anyway? So we need someone who wants to go back to the basics. That will be me, because I'm Gilbert Stewart, 1968.
Candidate Talan.
Well, I'm not afraid of new technology. Historically, new technology has always ended up creating more jobs than what it may have eliminated. One of the very good things that the state takeover did in the Providence schools is to introduce career and technical education in every one of the high schools. And that, I think, basically prepares our students for the future. I'm on the school improvement team at Alvarez High School, right in this part of the city. And one of their specialties is in students learning how to use computers and technology to get into the job force. And that's what we need more of, just using AI to create more jobs for the future.
So the next question comes from a community organization. What does protecting Providence's uniqueness mean to you? And how will your policies reflect that as the city evolves? As Providence continues to develop, what specific steps will you take to preserve the character, culture, and communities that define the city today? That question goes first to Candidate Talan. I'm going to come back this way.
Okay, the way that we protect the character of our city is through strong neighborhood associations where people care about where they live and they fight to protect it. I'm the president of the Reservoir Triangle Neighborhood Association for many years, and we've been involved with a lot of that. We've protected open space on Mashpok Pond by creating 4 parks there where they wanted to be used for other purposes. We protected the former Gorham's property and made sure that things went in there were good for the environment, and also protected open space. And basically in the Elmwood section right here, we got strong neighborhood groups that have protected the historic architecture in the neighborhood and made sure they didn't tear down those houses to build monstrosities. So the answer is basically strong neighborhood associations like the one that I'm the president of, and that will take care of the problem.
Thank you. Candidate Waters.
Providence is in a moral decline. Our children, especially in our public schools, are being raised and allowed to be savages. We need to stop that. As a black man, I've seen it. This is not the way that our children should be behaving and being raised. The white liberal in the Democratic Party has failed us. And it's time for black and brown people and the white people who want to rise up this city to change. But we need, in order to have this, we need a strong police force. We need strong law and order. But children have to believe in themselves. No more of marginalization and feminization of black and brown males. We need to bring our children up.
Candidate Morales.
First, I want to wish everyone a happy Pride Month. Protecting our Providence community is about making sure that they do not find themselves priced out. And unfortunately, that is happening all across our city. All across our city, we're watching our neighbors having to face rent increases that essentially serve as eviction notices. And that is how we lose the character of our communities. When neighbors, working families are forced to get pushed out because they cannot afford these rent increases. And so I'll reiterate once more, I proudly support the Providence City Council's proposal to stabilize rents and ensure that many of our neighbors don't have to worry that the rent's gonna go up by more than 4% a year. We're also gonna stop the corporate takeover that's happening across our city. Because right now we have large realty companies like Strive and Amicus Properties that are buying up homes across Elmhurst, Smith Hill, and Wanskuck. And they are essentially purchasing these homes, jacking up the rent, and pushing out so many working people and families that have called Providence home for years. And a part of affordability and making sure our neighbors are able to stay here is also about ensuring that everyone feels a sense of safety, especially our immigrant community. And for that reason, our administration is going to use every tool we have at our disposal to hold fascist ICE agents accountable anytime they try to violate the rights of our neighbors. We're not going to have performative press conferences and signs on fences. We're going to make sure that the city solicitor's office is taking legal action to protect our neighbors.
Thank you. Mayor Smiley.
So there are many things that make our special and beloved Providence unique, and we do need to preserve them. First, we are a city of neighborhoods, and there's unique characteristics and a unique vibe and culture to each of those neighborhoods, and we need to preserve that. And over the last 4 years, we've invested in that, in new public parks in every corner, in new public schools in every neighborhood, so that the neighborhood fabric stays in place. People are proud of their neighborhood, and we need to maintain that. Second, one of the things that sets Providence apart from anywhere else in the country is our arts and culture. And we need to continue to invest in the creative capital, the thing that makes Providence different from anywhere else. And whether those are our public festivals, whether that's supporting working artists, whether that's continuing to expand the visual landscape with incredible new murals, that makes Providence unique and special. And finally, and most importantly, we need to make sure that this remains a richly diverse city, which is why we are so proud that this is a welcoming community and that I'm doing everything possible to keep it so. There are dozens of languages spoken in our neighborhoods and in our public schools. We are doing everything we can to support our neighbors. And he likes to say this quite frequently. It is not performative to immigrant communities in Providence to see their mayor and their police chief standing shoulder to shoulder saying, you are welcome here, we are doing everything we can to protect you, and that our public buildings are safe spaces. So when I hear from families that are scared to bring their kids to school, when I hear from business owners who say their business has fallen off because people aren't going to work or are afraid to go out, it is not performative to say to them, you are welcome here and we will protect you.
Time. Thank you. So the Southside, this is a Southside mayoral forum, so the next two questions go a little bit into just the Southside. So the Southside is a primary location for social services, which include Crossroads, Amos House, and Project Weber Renew, just to name a few. While other parts of the city also have social services in their area, it doesn't compare to the Southside. What will be, and is there a focus on creating balance in the city when it comes to where social services are located?
Right now across our city, we have many neighbors that are struggling. They're struggling with chronic homelessness, which is often tied back to mental health distress, substance use disorder, or alcoholism. And it's caused a lot of harm within our communities. And unlike the current administration, we're gonna take a compassionate approach to make sure that our unhoused neighbors are taken care of. And so that is going to require the involvement of having social service agencies. And we can achieve that balance to make sure it's not just being concentrated here on the South Side. Because I'll tell you, when I go down Chalkstone Avenue, when I go down Kennedy Plaza, when I go down Branch Avenue, well outside of the Southside, I'm watching neighbors struggle. And so we need to be prepared to work with our nonprofit partners like Amos House, like Better Lives Rhode Island, like Mathewson Street Church, to allow them to have the tools so they can operate their services and provide case management services right on the spot at some of these corners where we know our neighbors are already struggling. And by being able to have public-private partnerships, we can pursue leases that are going to be affordable. That way they're able to take advantage of some of the vacant commercial spaces that you might find on Smith Street, the vacant commercial spaces you might find on North Main Street. There are opportunities that exist for us to empower our social service agencies so it's not just concentrated here in South Providence, but most importantly, we get to ensure that every neighbor in Providence is able to receive the services that they need regardless of where they are.
Candidate Waters.
City of Providence is doing a fine job with a lot of our social services, but yes, they do need to be spread out more across the city. Banking is not social services, but I wonder why we have so many banks in Olneyville Square, when from my neighborhood, from Trinity Square, down Elmwood Avenue, past Roger Williams Park, already to Park Avenue, there's no banks. But back to social services, I recognize that we do have to make sure that people have access to it, the type of transportation, that if they're not built, so that they can get the services that they need in this neighborhood. But certainly, we don't want these services to leave South Providence. We just want to make sure that other parts of the city get the same, and I will support that.
Candidate Talan.
I don't think all these social service agencies on the South Side are a problem. I think in general they're all good neighbors, and I welcome them here, and I recognize that the people on the South Side are more likely to need the services of these agencies, and I want to have them in a convenient location, walking distance to the people who are most likely to use them. As many of you know, I serve as the administrative assistant to State Representative Ramon Perez, who previously lived in this neighborhood and now represents Silver Lake. And we had one agency in that area called Open Doors that serves people who came out of prison and helps them adjust to life and become productive citizens. And there were a few people that objected to that, but we stood up and supported them coming in the neighborhood. They've been wonderful neighbors. And anybody who's going to be a good neighbor, I'll support them.
Mayor Smiley.
There's tremendous need in our community, and as we continue to try to meet that need, we do need to share the services equitably around the city. And I've been coming to community meetings on the South Side for well over a decade and have heard this feedback, which is why now that I've been mayor and have had a chance to actually do something about it, the only large-scale shelter that the city has added in the last couple of years was added on the east side, because I had heard that feedback. We also have heard the feedback that affordable housing needs to be distributed around the city. And now there's 2 new affordable housing buildings in Fox Point on the east side, which is direct feedback that I've heard from neighbors and residents saying, well, how come none of that ever gets built anywhere else? And that's where we're doing. We're trying to meet the needs where it is, because there is need everywhere. Nobody in Rhode Island spends more on social services and commits more to helping neighbors at the municipal level than the City of Providence. And I'm proud to do so. That's the right thing to do. And in partnership with the Providence City Council, we continue to spend money on trying to meet the very severe needs in our community. And as was suggested, we're already doing that. We hire social service workers to go engage with unhoused neighbors. We try to operate in a case management framework through community partners to meet their needs in every corner of the city. We're now, in the new budget, going to be providing direct grant funding to Mathewson Street Church. We are continuing to do more than our fair share. But it is critical to remember that homelessness is a statewide problem. And this cannot just be a City of Providence solution. The state needs to step up as well.
Thank you. So the next question here, as I read it, is pointed at Mayor Smiley. So I'm going to ask the question and ask the mayor to answer it, but I'm going to broaden that question for the others and how they would deal with the same issue if they were to be elected. So the recycling failure in Providence is costing us taxpayers 1.5 in fines and tipping fees. How can this effectively be resolved? Is there or will there be periodic hard evidence presented to Providence residents that the purchase of new trash bins for $7.4 million was a supportive investment? Yes, you're starting.
Yeah, neighbors, we are terrible recyclers, and it costs us all money. The City of Providence is the worst recycler in the state of Rhode Island, and it has been a problem for years. And so we have a multi-pronged approach to try to do better, to save you tax dollars, but also to better preserve our planet and preserve the life of the landfill. You all received new barrels. Most of that that money was not city tax dollars. We received grants to buy the new barrels. It has already increased our recycling rates, and we will be making regular reports to the City Council and to the community. But it's not just the new barrels. Many of you have also hopefully seen we have education going out with it. We actually have community partners who are flipping the lid and looking inside to seeing if people recycle properly, and you're getting a hanger, a red, yellow, or green hanger, because we need to educate folks about what is and is not recyclable. And then we issue violations after the warning period, after the education, because it is not sustainable. What we're spending on contaminated recycling is not sustainable, and in just a few years, the central landfill in Johnston is going to fill up. And then all of us are going to be paying to truck away our waste to another state, which will cause our trash fees to go up even higher. And so we all need to do better, and we are taking a thoughtful, evidence-informed approach to do so, and we will be reporting out regularly on our progress.
Thank you. So for the candidates, your perspectives on recycling, would you take the same approach, different approach? What are your plans for the same?
As our mayor, I will not lecture you. I am going to take a collaborative approach to making sure that together we're able to diagnose the issue, which clearly here is low recycling rates. But these are the moments where a mayor has to demonstrate leadership and partner with our neighborhood associations and our community organizations so we can actually hear the evidence on the ground as to what the struggles of our neighbors are. Because most of the time, a lot of it's due to a lack of communication, whether it's based on multilingualism, whether it's based on a lack of formal training or education. There are steps that the city can take to be a better partner. And one of the themes that I have found here in South Providence over the last several years as a legislator and now as a candidate for mayor is how disconnected so many of our organizations and neighbors feel from City Hall. When they share a concern, it is not being elevated or taken with the sense of urgency that one wants to see. And so I believe that when it comes to something as simple as recycling, we need to be thoughtful about having community gatherings so we can walk through these steps together. As a state legislator, I have hosted over 50 community meetings, and I've been proud to do so because I think it's important for our neighbors to see their elected officials firsthand, get their questions answered, and ensure that it doesn't get to a point where fees and penalties have to be assessed. There is certainly work to do, and as your next mayor, I'm going to guarantee that the organizations hosting this forum tonight have an open door where they can reach their mayor. Thank you.
Candidate Waters. Candidate Waters.
Yes, Smiley, thank you for the new bins. And the streets look a lot better because a lot of the bins in my neighborhood were pretty torn up. So I think the timing is great, and hopefully we will continue to improve. Hopefully we'll continue to improve on our recycling. And I think the mayor has a good plan in place.
Candidate Talan.
I also support what the mayor did with the new bins. One of the worst ideas ever was someone who thought that by making the garbage cans smaller than the recycling cans, it would increase recycling. What it really did was there wasn't enough room in the garbage cans, so the garbage went in the recycling bin and cost us millions of dollars. So congratulations on fixing that, and I support it completely.
Thank you. So there's a lot of talk about the missing middle income residents who earn too much for most affordable housing and too little for all the market rate housing being built. What is your view of what the missing middle income is in Providence when the median income is $43,000 annually? And what will you do to change things? Candidate Talan, I'll start with you.
Okay, well, basically, I would just want to improve city services and schools for everybody of all incomes, and not interested in playing off one group of incomes against another, but I want to serve everybody, so I just kind of reject the question.
So I do want to reemphasize these questions are community questions. So address the community when you speak. For my questions, I'll tell you mine, which I've only asked one. But address the community when you speak. And Candidate Waters, please.
When you can't afford your apartment, when the cost of rent is so high that you can't afford to pay your bills and your utilities and provide your children, rent in Providence is slavery. And I continue back on my other point. One of the things that we do have to do in rapid order is to increase what I call housing that the people can become members and to own those. So this is the way forward, and I think that we can continue to build swap homes, we can continue to whatever, but still you're just paying a rent to the landlord, be it a nonprofit, be it the city, be it one of these private owners of these big corporations. So this is what we need, and this is what I will do as the new mayor.
Not to support any candidate as the moderator, but the concept he's talking about, I did real estate for 10 years in Manhattan, is cooperative, where you own stock and the home that you own is a corporation and you own stock in the corporation. So just to clarify that, as he's mentioned it a couple times. Candidate Morales?
As it has been mentioned several times over, so many working people and working families in our city are getting pushed out because it's becoming too expensive. As it was noted earlier, rents continue to skyrocket, which is why we need to make sure that we cap annual rent hikes. And we also need to make sure that we're able to develop opportunities so we have accessible pathways for home ownership. My parents-in-law own a home in the Mount Pleasant neighborhood, and one of them is a custodian, the other works at a school cafeteria. They're able to own their home because back in the early 2000s, SWAP, Stop Wasting Abandoned Properties, developed within Mount Pleasant. And it was income restricted to ensure that working class families that otherwise wouldn't qualify for Section 8, that otherwise wouldn't qualify for public housing, had a pathway to have access to a low payment when it came to the down payment assistance, and then thereafter were able to achieve home ownership. And that has been the story of what we've had here in South Providence. Back in the 90s, we had SWAP making major investments alongside the City of Providence, and we have seen what that has become. Beautiful row homes where neighbors own them. And we can have something similar right here in South Providence and across the city. Accessible pathways to home ownership. And so as mayor, I'm committed to putting forward an intentional housing bond for the purposes of land acquisition when it comes to vacant residential lots owned by companies, so we can acquire the lots and work in partnership with organizations like SWAP, so we're designing homes that our neighbors can afford to purchase.
Mayor Smiley.
We do have a missing middle in housing. We need very low income housing. We need affordable housing. We need workforce housing. We need all of it. And we need to produce more of it, which is why I've been so focused on building new homes and supporting the growth of new homes around the city. And we're making great progress. I'm happy to report that SWAP is building a new project in Providence with our support that we cut the ribbon on, or did the groundbreaking a couple weeks ago. I'm happy to support that in November we will have a new housing bond on the ballot that I would encourage you all to vote yes on, so that we have our own local subsidy to recapitalize our highly successful Providence Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Providence remains the only community with their own source of funding to go with state and federal funds to see these affordable housing projects get built. We have effectively deployed all of the old funding, and now it's time to re-up. And so I was at the State House this year, and we'll be going to the ballot in November, and we would encourage you all to vote yes. We need to continue to do more of all of the above, and my administration has done that, and we will continue to do that in the years to come.
Thank you. The next question is on wealth creation and ownership. Providence's long-term challenge is not just simply housing, it is also wealth creation. Providence is one of the most diverse cities in New England, roughly 62% being communities of color. Nearly half of the residents are Latino, more than 1/3 of residents identify as Black, Asian, multiracial, or another minority group, and roughly 1/3 of residents were born outside of the United States. Yet despite this diversity and cultural richness, approximately 26% of residents live below the poverty line. Poverty rates are more than double the statewide average. Homeownership rates lag many peer cities. Significant racial gaps exist nationally and locally. Many residents do not own appreciating assets such as homes or businesses. The question facing voters is not simply how to manage the city, but how to ensure that the city's growing diversity translates into growing prosperity for all residents. With that context being set, how would you ensure that Black, Latino, immigrant, and historically underserved communities participate in wealth creation rather than simply witnessing new investment around them? That question goes first to candidate Waters.
I was a financial consultant, investment consultant for about 30 years of my career. 1982, I started off with Merrill Lynch downtown in the Hospital Trust Tower. I worked for Charles Schwab. I worked for TIA Crep. I worked for, which was TD Ameritrade, and other companies. I even had the first minority-owned money management firm in Providence called Aquarius Capital Management, because I believe in growth and wealth. However, many of our parents, it doesn't matter which side of town you're from or your ethnicity, they don't give their children the information. So we do need this in school. So we need a modern, new millennium home economics for males and females, for boys and girls, so they at least learn how to manage their money coming out the door, how credit works, and to have a positive cash flow. So one of the things I will do as mayor is to make sure that our children get educated on those matters. That said, Providence used to be one of the richest per capita places in the early part of the 19th century. It has declined, but we can rise it back up again. We just need new leaders.
Candidate Talan, thank you. Candidate Talan.
Okay, historically, generally your lower income people go into the inner city and then, when the second generation gets better and they move out. So I think one of the most important jobs for the mayor is to make things better for the young people so that they'll have a better life than their parents did. And where the city is falling short for the most part is in education. If you're well off and you live on the east side, you can go to one of the 5 private schools there. If you live on the poor side of the city like we are, then you need to have good schools that enable the second generation and the third generation to really make more of their lives. And that's where I think we're falling short. We've got busing all over the city so that there's no family involvement. Kids don't go together with their neighbors, so you don't get their whole families involved in the schools, which is one of the most important parts of that. You're wasting all this money on busing. And as far as education goes, the kids are falling short because there is no family involvement. Plus, in this part of the city, half of the kids aren't even going to public schools. They're going to private schools, parochial schools, or one of the 8 public charter schools here on the south side. And those schools are giving them an opportunity, and we're seeing the state government do everything they can to try and take that opportunity away from them. Even this past week, the governor's signing the bill to ban charter schools.
Time. Thank you. I'm going to read the question one more time. How would you ensure that Black, Latino, immigrant, and historically underserved communities participate in wealth creation rather than simply witnessing new investment around them? That's the question. Candidate Morales.
Providence is a community of small businesses, especially here on the south side. And so I believe it's important that we're doing all that we can to further support our small businesses and emerging entrepreneurs. But unfortunately, so many of our small business owners feel disconnected from City Hall. They do not know how to access services, whether it's related to business expansion plans, permitting, whether it's related to the small business loan program that exists here in the city, but so many of our neighbors are not even aware it simply exists. And so our administration is going to reform the Office of Economic Development. And we're going to make sure that we have small business liaisons that are going to be actively on the ground providing multilingual support to hear the questions and concerns of our small business owners and emerging entrepreneurs. It's not enough to just have a business center in downtown. We need to bring the services to our neighbors. And we're going to provide more economic opportunity to our working people right here in the Southside and across the city by enforcing our first source hiring law. We have had a law in the books that has not been enforced for years that essentially says that if a business receives tax subsidies, then they are required to prioritize local hiring. This administration has not even issued a report in over 2 years about the status of First Source. It is clearly not a priority. My administration will prioritize First Source hiring in addition to the inclusion of minority business enterprises when it comes to projects. We will not allow for developers to get away with waivers.
Mayor Smiley.
One of the best things that we can do for our families is to help them build wealth. And we need to help them at every stage along the way. So for young families, the best thing that we can do is help them save money on their largest out-of-pocket expense, which is the cost of childcare, which is why I'm extraordinarily proud that Providence is the only community in Rhode Island with universal pre-K. Then we need to make sure that our students, as they pursue higher education, aren't saddled with a mountain of debt when they graduate, because that is a pile that they cannot climb out of as they're trying to build wealth. I'm so proud, previous to being elected mayor, I was the chief of staff to the governor and director of administration for the state when we passed Rhode Island Promise, 2 free years of community college for any Rhode Island student. And now, thanks to great state leaders like Grace Diaz and others, there's 2 free years at Rick, so you can get a 4-year college degree in Rhode Island for free. Then after our kids graduate without student debt, with families that did not have the extra burden of unnecessary childcare expenses, they have an opportunity to build their business and to build wealth in their community. We are doing exceptional work to support small businesses around the community and making sure that they have access to the work that we're doing. Most importantly, through $1 billion worth of school construction, all of which has rigorous minority business enterprise requirements that they are meeting, opening doorways to big multi-million-dollar contracts to help grow minority businesses here in the city. And we are very proud of our partnership with Building Futures, who is in charge of our compliance with First Source, which we are fully compliant with.
So on that question, Mayor, you ran out of time. This question goes to you first. Providence Public Schools have been under state intervention since 2019 following findings of systemic challenges related to student achievement, facilities, staffing, and district operations. As the district moves towards a return to local governance, many teachers, staff, parents, and students remain concerned about whether meaningful progress can be sustained. What do you say to them? What are the plans for the future?
First of all, the community spoke loud and clear that they wanted their schools back, which is why I was so proud to be one of many leaders in the effort to bring our schools back into local control, and we were able to successfully do that starting July 1st. We have a brand new school board who has been hard at work to get ready for this moment. The City Council and I are working in lockstep to be prepared for this moment, and we are focused entirely on the first day of school in just about 10 or 12 weeks. In the months and years to come, we can and will support the Providence Public Schools to do better. The challenge in our schools is our teachers are being asked to do more with less. We have declining enrollment, which means less dollars coming to the classroom, and so we need to be smarter about how we spend money in our schools so that we see actual student improvement and better student outcomes. We have needs that are going unmet in the form of social and emotional needs, counseling needs, where our schools simply do not have enough wraparound supports. And so now that we have our schools back into local control, I look forward in my second term to working closely with PPSD, with the school board, with the City Council to prioritize additional funding, as we have done over the last 4 years. We have made significant new investments in the Providence Public Schools, and we will continue to do so and make sure that those dollars find their way into the classroom and not into administration or consultants.
Candidate Talan.
I give Mayor Smiley credit on 45% of the city budget, police, fire, public works, public property, those types of things. But 55% of the city budget goes to the schools, and hasn't been under city control, but I don't think it's been spent well or run well. The mayor actually commissioned a study by Alvarez and Marcel, a respected national auditing firm, and they determined that contrary to the belief that we're spending too little on our schools, they said we're spending too much, but not on the kids in the classroom, too much on the 30% of the budget that goes for adults, particularly on busing. 9,000 kids get bused away from their neighborhood. I believe if the parents were allowed to choose to go to a neighborhood school, half of those would go to a neighborhood school walking distance, and we would save $10 million a year, the same amount that we raised taxes by a year ago. I believe we could also save a lot of money on administration. The administrative office downtown is totally bloated. We could save many millions from that. And just on general services like the A&M report suggested. And mainly, we could get the parents involved in the schools if kids could choose to go to their neighborhood school. And if parents get involved and the neighborhood gets involved, everybody benefits and the kids get a better education. And when I'm the mayor, that's going to be my main emphasis, is on fixing that problem.
Candidate Waters.
We live in a majority school district, and our children have been undereducated for generations. The white liberal power structure, from the Democratic Party to the mayor's office to the boards, have failed our children. We are raising children who cannot compete, not only in the United States, but most importantly, globally. Who are going to fight for our children? And let me say one thing, in a 40% Latino city, if I was Latino, I'm a black man, and if I was a Latino, and if I was Hispanic, I'd be boiling mad at these people because they're not educating our children. They're letting them run around. Our schools are filled with children who cannot speak the language. Just pile them in there. Let them run like wild weeds. You need a black man as mayor who cares about it. And let me say this. All the white people in this city, you have a target on your back because of the liberal Marxist educations that are going on here. We need to fight.
Candidate Morales. So we have some questions to get through. We're going through pretty swimmingly, so
all our kids across Providence Public Schools deserve a quality education, and our families deserve to feel engaged as a part of that process. As an English language learner, I was grateful to have had the support of multilingual educators. As a student in middle school who had experiences with mental health distress, I was grateful to have the support of a counselor. But right now, so many of our students are not receiving the services that they need because our schools are under-resourced. Our teachers are not receiving enough support in and out of the classrooms, and that's what translates over to a lack of academic progress. And for that reason, my administration is going to prioritize local investments that will be directed towards hiring more multilingual educators, counselors, social workers, and librarians. Because when we make those investments, we allow for our families to be further engaged in their child's education because they're trusted staff members that they can connect with and be up to date as to what decisions are being made in their school. Over the last several years, we've watched 2 school closures right here in South Providence between Broad Street Elementary and 360 High School. During those decisions, our families were left in the dark. We want to make sure now that we make this transition back to local control, that our families are engaged around the decisions that are made, that we're actively informing them as to what is happening in their schools and making sure that they're a partner in their child's education, because regardless of whether a student's a multilingual learner, a special education student, or an individualized education plan, they deserve quality education here in Providence.
Mayor Smiley. Oh, that's right. So the next question, I'm going to give a bit of context. I won't say the name of the person, but I met with a senior executive from Boston Medical One of the things that they do in Boston is Boston Medical invests in housing. So 0 to 2% interest loans for developers to build affordable housing. They do that because they recognize when they invest in the community, they're proactive and they get to a lot of social and emotional illnesses before by providing housing. So with that being stated, would you support a formal agreement between the City of Providence, our universities, our hospital, systems that establish measurable goals for local hiring, local procurement, workforce development, housing investment, and small business growth? If not, why? I'll start with Mayor Smiley.
Yes, I think our institutions need to step up. I think our colleges and our hospitals need to continue to do more. I think many of you know this, but if you don't, half of the land in Providence is property tax exempt. And so all of us taxpayers are paying 100% of the bills, and yet half of the land is not paying property taxes. They all need to step up. And I think housing is a way that they can and should do more. By the way, it's not just the opportunity to meet some of the social and emotional needs of our neighbors. It's some of their own employees who cannot find housing. And particularly if you're a CNA or one of the lower wage workers in the hospitals, you are struggling to find an apartment. I've spoken to residents who are living in their car and working full-time at the hospital. And so they have an obligation not just to help partner with us to do better, but to meet the needs of this healthcare system, of their employees, and of this community. So I think they should help in all of those ways, and it should be measurable and it should be specific.
Candidate Morales.
Right now, our private colleges and universities are only contributing about 8% of what they would otherwise owe in property taxes to our city. And so I find it ironic that the mayor says our universities need to do more, because that's the agreement that he negotiated 3 years ago. As a part of that agreement as well, before, when a private college or university would purchase more land, it would be on the tax rolls for about 15 years and it would get phased out. Under the agreement we have now that this mayor reached, when a property is purchased, it immediately comes off the tax rolls. And that is just wrong. So my administration is going to focus on putting together a proposal on having a short-term amendment around our current pilot agreement, otherwise known as payment in lieu of taxes. Once I am elected in September, our team is going to start working with the school board and our school district so we can conduct a staffing gap analysis around all of our Providence public schools, so we can have an understanding of where we're falling short when it comes to not having enough social workers, when it comes to classroom sizes. And we're going to take an itemized receipt of the staffing gaps that exist, and we're going to bring it to the private colleges and universities with the expectation that they're going to be good neighbors, because additional revenue that we're able to generate as a part of this short-term agreement is going to go directly towards our Providence public schools, because I believe our private colleges have a responsibility to PPSD and our students.
Candidate Waters.
Brown University is one of the most anti-American institutions in this nation, along with the other Ivy League. They are raising their students to not be supportive of our American country, our free enterprise, our individual rights. They need to be slowed down and stopped where we can, even if we have to talk to our congressmen and our U.S. senators. We need to keep them from expanding, because it's not about us in the city. It's about them and their bad ideology. We need someone who's going to fight and try to stop them and make sure that they're paying, how about this? Let me steal it from the left, their fair share.
Candidate Talan.
A lot of people talk about the colleges, Brown University, as being cash cows to just give money to the city. What I would like to see them do is take over some of the city services at their own expense and be able to do them more cheaply, because they wouldn't be government operated, particularly the schools. That's what Brown University is an educational institution. That's what they do best. I'd like to see them take over some of the schools in Providence, run them themselves without the constraints of the union contract, and be able to do it more cheaply. Right in this neighborhood, I'd like to see Brown take over the Broad Street Elementary School, which right now is empty, it's one of the 7 empty buildings we're going to have in school buildings within the next 2 years. Washington Park has no schools whatsoever that are walking distance to anybody who lives in that neighborhood. I think it's important to have that school reopened, and the city can't afford to do it, but Brown University could take it over, fix it up at their own expense, and save the city a ton of money right there by doing that. And like I said, there's going to be 6 other empty school buildings. I'd like to see the other schools maybe take over some of them, let the charter schools take them over instead of busing kids to the town of Warren, like the school right around the corner, Highlander, right now does for their kids grades 7 through 12. And there's just a lot of things we can do to save money for everybody in the city by using the colleges that way.
Thank you. I'm going to follow up on this question. If elected, will you commit to publicly reporting each year on the percentage of city leadership positions, board appointments, city contracts, and economic development opportunities that are going to Providence residents as a whole, and then specifically to Black and Latino residents, so the public can measure whether access and opportunity are actually expanding and allocations of funding are going to all?
In terms of city contracting and MBE opportunities, we do report out and will continue to report out on opportunities for registered MBEs in the city. Honestly, we need to think a little more broadly, though, because there are many MBEs working successfully in the city that are too busy or find it too onerous to register, which is a state registration. And so it's not just about the work that's happening in the city, it's actually about making sure that these businesses can be successful. And so, yes, on the reporting, but I would encourage all of us to think a little bit more broadly, because it's not just about what slice of the city pie, it's really about making sure that businesses in our community can thrive, particularly minority and women-owned businesses, entrepreneurs of color in the city. With respect to employment statistics in the city, within the confines of what's legal and self-reported, of course, we're not going to disclose personal information against an employee's will, but sure.
Thank you. Candidate Talan.
Sure, I would commit to reporting that, but at the same time, I want the city to have the work done by whoever's going to do it for the least amount of money and do a good job at it and keep our taxes down. And that, to me, is more important than doing social engineering and spending extra money.
Thank you. Candidate Waters.
We have to make sure that we're constitutional. Our Black and brown brothers and sisters have been hoodwinked, flim-flammed, because none of this is working. And when they had programs in the 60s and 70s, and they wanted to make sure that black businesses, when there was more blacks than anybody else, would get business, and what did they do? Put a white woman in there, and it never worked. We cannot just segregate and pick certain groups to make this work, but we need to make sure that they have an education, that they understand how the system works, because people are coming from all over the world, from Africa and Asia and all Latin America, without all these extra stuff, and they're doing just fine. We need to make sure that we continue to lift people up by their bootstraps and not just say, well, this group has to get it. It's just too Marxist, too leftist. Don't go there, black people. We need to find a different way.
Candidate Morales.
My administration will prioritize designing a senior leadership team that is based on merit, experience, and most of all, a commitment to Providence, a commitment to our neighbors. We're not gonna have directors that treat Providence like a 9-to-5. We're gonna have department directors that are fully committed to our city, and that's gonna start like having a director of public works that's actually qualified to do the job. Right now we have Right now, we have a DPW director with no background around city services because it was a political favor that was made. Our administration is not going to have political favors as a part of who we appoint to lead certain departments or who gets appointed to sit on the City Planning Commission. We're going to prioritize local hiring. We're going to make sure that it's diverse in terms of which parts of the city we're able to attract applicants and make sure that they are serving our neighbors day in and day out. And of course, we will be transparent as a part of that process because my administration is going to make sure that when there are updates coming from City Hall, we are regularly hosting public community hearings and meetings that don't require you to come down to City Hall. Instead, we're going to have our department directors come to you so you can share your concerns and we can make sure it gets logged and ultimately addressed.
Thank you. So given that Rhode Island has some of the highest asthma rates in the country, and we know South Providence and Washington Park are asthma hotspots in the state, how do you plan to increase accountability for polluting businesses in the Port of Providence? I'll start first on this side with Mayor Smiley.
So accountability starts with information, with reporting, with real data to make sure that we know the sources of the pollution and that we hold them accountable. And then secondly, we need to then evolve the industries at the Port of Providence and along the Providence waterfront. We had a start in the wind energy business that took a significant step back because of the horrors of the Trump administration, but there is still long-term potential to make that port a hub of commercial activity for offshore wind, and we should continue to do that. Those are great jobs that are powering our green energy future. We need to continue to look for other opportunities at the waterfront for a new decarbonized future for which Providence continues to lead the way. My administration has made a real, actionable, detailed plan on how we are going to decarbonize all city buildings, and we are going to be the first community in Rhode Island to get it done. And some of that work will be assembled, manufactured, or built at the Providence waterfront. Finally, we need to make sure that it is not just industrial activity at the waterfront, but that there is also public access, which is why my team has been working hand in hand with the community to ensure that the dream of Public Street as a public access point comes to reality. We are making progress on that. We are honoring the intentions of the community, and it will get done.
Morales.
It is not a coincidence that South Providence has some of the highest asthma rates in the state and in the entire country. It is because we have allowed for industrial polluters to continue operating without any form of consistent accountability. We should not have to wait for a scrapyard fire or an oil leak in order to take action. And that is why my administration will enter a cost-sharing agreement with the Department of Environmental Management. We're going to guarantee that we have regular air quality monitoring to ensure that when air quality standards are violated, DEM is empowered to issue fines and penalties because if and when an industrial facility is breaking the law, they need to be held accountable. And that is not happening right now because it has not been a priority for this administration to actually engage with DEM and enforce accountability. And that is just one of the ways that we're going to make sure that we improve what is actively happening in the waterfront. Right now, there is an ongoing process around Provport. Provport has essentially over 30% down the waterfront on Allens Avenue. And I've heard from community members who are frustrated by the process because they do not feel like their voices are being heard when it comes to zoning decisions. We need to ensure that the People's Port Authority, the Washington Park Neighborhood Association, community organizations authentically have their voices heard. That we're not just bringing them in for a photo op to say we brought community in. I want to make sure that their recommendations are implemented in the final plan.
Candidate Waters.
Asthma has a lot to do with genetics. Yes, it does. And, of course, environmental pollutions. But we also have to make sure that our children in the city are getting the proper exercise and the proper diets so that their bodies can defend against the attack of asthma. So we can talk about all of these different carbonizations and things like that, but most of this is a white liberal lie. And so, we need to educate the people and educate our children and make sure that families understand that if their children are not getting enough exercise, if they're not eating well, that is also part to blame. We got to get kids moving and make sure that their lungs are in great shape.
Candidate Talan. People, please refrain from the shout-outs. We are making great time and getting through all the community questions. Thank you. Candidate Talan.
Okay, certainly I want to get rid of anything in the port area that's really like putting pollutants out in the air. Certainly that starts with the scrap yard. I think we all agree that that doesn't need to be there. And anything else that's actually polluting the air, I would want to control them and maybe get them out. I'd like to talk a little bit about the public street park, which is the one park that would be available to the public. A lot of people in this room are working on that. And the problem is these big trucks that are going right by where the people are walking into the park, polluting the air and just creating a public safety hazard. And one of the things I'd like to see is force the people that are using those trucks at their own expense to put in another traffic light on Allens Avenue, much farther south of that, so that the trucks enter where they have to, don't go anywhere near the public street park. And that would make that a whole lot cleaner by itself.
Thank you. What specific role should City Hall play in supporting Providence Public Schools during this transition? And what would be the top 3 priorities to ensure students, teachers, and staff are set up for long-term success? First, top 3 priorities. Candidate Waters, I'll start with you.
We're not going to get good education unless our children are well behaved in school. Like I said, I was a substitute teacher in almost all of the middle schools in Providence for 3 years. I saw with my own eyes that there is no control mechanism. The children, our children, especially our black and brown children, are running goddamn buck wild. We got to stop that, or there is no education that is going to happen in our school. That's just not going to happen. And we know that the Chromebooks don't work. The kids aren't reading regular books. We've got to shut down some of that technology and go back in the future to where it actually worked. Other than that, what we're doing is just creating future homeless people, broken families, people that they cannot engage because we're not educating the children. And they're doing it on purpose, my friends. They're doing it on purpose. As long as you're needed, you depend on the government and you depend on the Democratic Party. I'm a Malcolm X conservative. I believe that we need to have our children grow so that they can not be with government, that they don't depend on our government. This is how we're going to make it work. So, you either keep the same old thing, maybe switch Democrats and get the same bad results, or you can think differently outside of the box. Alan Waters from Mayor.
Candidate Talan.
Okay, the 3 things I would do around busing, charter schools, and neighborhood involvement. As I already said, we have 9,000 kids being bused. 4,500 of them would choose to go to neighborhood schools. You're given that opportunity, save tens of millions of dollars, and make better use of all the kids' times instead of spending hundreds of hours a year riding a bus. More support for charter schools. Fact of the matter is, we already have 38% of the kids in Providence do not go to a traditional public school. Here on the Southside, 50% do not go to a traditional public school. So we need to work with all of them and make use of the 7 empty schools that are going to become empty within the next 2 years and open them up to some of these charter schools where they're busing the kids to other cities or have no room to expand. 3 of these empty schools are right here on the south side, Broad Street, Alfred Lima, and West Broadway. Let's make use of those and get the neighborhood involvement in the schools by having neighborhood schools, make them part of the community. If all the neighbors work together and the kids go to school together, we'll have stronger neighborhoods and better schools.
Thank you. Mayor Smiley.
The city's role in the next 4 years is going to be primarily to make sure that they have the resources that they need, and our opportunity is to make sure those resources are going in the right place. And so my priorities would be as follows. First, we need to continue to ensure that we are properly funding opportunities for all of the other wraparound supports that our students need. Teachers are being asked to deal with so many other challenges that is distracting them from their teaching, but also not what they were trained to do. So school counselors, social and emotional supports, and other supports outside of the classroom but within the school building. That's going to cost money, and so we need to allocate and ensure that those funds get to the right place. Second, we need to continue to expand opportunities for bilingual and dual language education in our city. There is a huge opportunity and a huge need. If we graduate a generation worth of kids fully bilingual, they will be so much more competitive into their future. It is such an asset to be supported. We have bilingual and dual language instruction in our city. We need to do more of it, and right around the corner from here at the new Gilbert Stewart is going to be a fully bilingual school. We should do more of that. And then finally, we are at the early stages, because of all of the school construction that we're doing, for a transition to K-8 model. Most of our middle schools are going away, and we're going to have K-8 schools, which have shown huge promise around the country. We think it will work very well here, but we need to make sure that that is implemented well, and that those students make that transition more successfully so that we do better than we've done in the past.
Candidate Morales.
As we transition back to local control, we are going to need a mayor that has their ear to the ground and is prepared to work with the school board and our educators in order to best assess what are the ongoing needs of our Providence Public Schools. I'm proud to be the candidate that is endorsed by the Providence Teachers Union, because our educators, as the candidate endorsed by the PTU, our educators know that I am going to be prepared to listen and to take action by working with the school board to make sure that issues related to the lack of support for our multilingual learners is actively being addressed, because we are making the investments towards dual language programs by working towards having more opportunities for teachers to actually get certified in dual language education. We have so many talented educators that are multilingual but are not properly certified. I believe the city has a role in establishing a partnership with Rhode Island College in addition to URI, so we make that possible. We're also going to ensure that our families feel more connected to our schools. That was one of the main reasons that so many families have divested away from Providence Public Schools and looked to alternatives, because they do not feel like they have a community within their school. When we prioritize the hiring of more family engagement coordinators and counselors, we can make sure that on a multilingual basis, our families are actively connected. And beyond that, making sure that every student, regardless of learning disability, if one is on an IEP, they're going to get the services that they're legally entitled to, and we're going to make that possible, which is why we're going to fund it in partnership with our private university.
Time. So I'm happy to say we went a little bit over, but I think it's well worth it. So all the questions that the community has given have been answered by the candidates. We are now going to have closing remarks. So candidates, mayor, what I would like you to concentrate on this last minute and a half is think about what makes you different, and why do people, when they go into the voting box, should they vote for you? Without defaming anybody else on stage, should they vote for you over the other candidates? I'll start first with, go for it, Candidate Waters. Candidate Waters, you have a minute and a half.
I got into politics because I wanted to change America, because I could see that we are going in the wrong direction. I'm inspired by the last year of Malcolm X's life, the independent Malcolm X, when he left the Nation of Islam, was forced out of the Nation of Islam. One of the greatest speeches in America, in Black America, contemporary Black America, was the Battle of the Bullet in 1964. He said, control your own politics, control your economics, and we have to be self-reliant and not depend on the white man, on the white liberal, for our sustenance. But where are we going to get that man? I am worse than Donald Trump. I am worse than MAGA. I am a black man who has never been on the Democratic plantation. And I will be the best mayor that we've ever had in recent times because we need somebody to fight for all of us on all sides of the city. Please consider Alan Waters or continue to have much of the same, and that's not good because Providence needs to go up and not down.
Candidate Talan.
I'm the one candidate whose background is basically involvement in the community, involvement in neighborhood associations like the 8 community organizations that are sponsoring tonight's event, and I bring that to the table as my qualifications. And like I've said earlier, my number one priority, if I'm elected mayor, will be the 55% of the city budget that goes to the schools. When I'm the mayor, every child will be able to go to a school of their choice close to home, have their family and parents involved in the school, have the community involved in the schools, and have everybody with a chance to get a good education and save millions of dollars at the same time by eliminating all the problems I've talked about earlier.
Thank you. Candidate Morales.
Neighbors, I want to thank you all again for taking the time to be here because it is clear that you care about our city, you care about Providence. And so as our next mayor, I'm going to do everything within our disposal to make sure that our city is one that you can continue to afford to call home, which is why I'm proud to be the only candidate on this stage that supports capping annual rent hikes. As a representative and now a candidate for mayor who has never taken a cent from any lobbyist that represents the large industrial facilities in the Port of Providence, rest assured that I am committed to you. I am committed to making sure that we hold the bad actors down the Port of Providence accountable because I have no financial ties to them. We're going to make sure that we improve the quality of all our Providence public schools, and that's going to start with intentional investments. Because I grew up to a single immigrant mom who made her way here from Mexico, and I understand that struggle that so many of our working families are going through. I understand that it takes government's responsibility in order to improve the lives of our neighbors, and that is what I'm committed to doing as our next mayor, making sure that when it comes to the issues related to housing, related to immigration, related to education, that we are listening to our community, not lecturing. Because when we listen to our neighbors, that's how we develop the policy solutions to move Providence ahead and, most importantly, build a Providence for all.
Thank you. Mayor Smiley.
Thank you all for spending as much time as you have with us tonight. This is an incredibly important election, and frankly, not enough people vote in local elections. So thank you to you. Please talk to your neighbors. This election is in 77 days, and I hope to be able to earn your vote to be your mayor for 4 more years. I think what this election comes down to and what sets us all apart is our track record and our readiness to lead this city forward. I'm proud of my track record. I'm proud of building 2,000 new homes, 20% of which are affordable. I'm proud of the lowest violent crime rate in 35 years. I'm proud to be the only community in Rhode Island with universal pre-K. I am proud that this city is doing everything it can to protect its immigrant neighbors from the Trump administration and using every tool at our disposal to protect ourselves from the lawlessness coming out of Washington. But what we need going forward is we need a mayor who is ready. We need a mayor who is ready to take on 20,000 kids and a $500 million budget in the Providence Public Schools because our kids and their families are too important to gamble with someone with inexperience. What we need is a mayor who is ready to continue to lead the fight over the next 2 years with the Trump administration because that's not a job that we can afford to do and learn on the job. That's what this election is about, results and readiness. I hope I can earn your vote on September 9th. Thank you very much.
Thank you all candidates, Mayor, for joining today. Most importantly, as we close, A round of applause to the 8 organizations that made this come together by working collectively, as we should without the city. They get the biggest round of applause. This is an incredible showing. Thank you all for being here. Have a great night.
This has been To The Point. For more episodes and information, visit tothepointri.com. We'll see you next time.